Today, we are going to talk about something that few have the courage to address: the traps of modern spirituality and how the ego can disguise itself along this path, diverting us from true growth. Spirituality should be a path of liberation, but often it is used to validate the ego, creating illusions that keep us stuck in cycles of comparison and dependency. In this video, we will dive deep into these deceptions, identify their roots, and understand how to overcome them to find the true essence of spiritual awakening. On our channel, we explore profound topics such as spiritual awakening, the law of attraction, and hidden truths about the journey of self-transformation. The disillusionment with modern spirituality is something that few dare to address, but it is essential to understand why so many practices fail to produce real transformation. Spirituality, which should be a path to liberation, has been captured by a market that feeds on comfortable lies and convenient illusions. This has created a generation of eternal seekers, trapped in cycles of dependency that steer them away from true awakening. One glaring example of this is the modern dependency on sacred medicines. For millennia, these substances were used sacredly by spiritual masters and shamans of ancestral cultures. These tools had a clear purpose: to open doors to elevated states of consciousness, always with moderation, reverence, and the guidance of an experienced master. However, contemporary use has distorted this wisdom. These tools can help us elevate our state of consciousness, but at the same time, they carry traps. The spiritual market promotes the constant and indiscriminate use of these substances, creating the false belief that they alone are enough to accelerate spiritual evolution. The truth is that the human body is perfectly capable of naturally producing the compounds necessary for elevated states of consciousness. Sacred medicines may be genuine, but their strength lies in occasional use, while developing the ability to access these states independently. The problem does not lie in the substance, but in the dependency it creates. Modern spiritual culture ignores this fundamental principle, perpetuating a relationship of eternal seeking, where the individual never develops the internal tools for their realization. This same dynamic of dependency extends beyond medicines. Many spiritual seekers become addicted to workshops, certifications, and initiations, believing that these external experiences validate their journey. The market capitalizes on this dependency, offering new techniques and promises of transformation every day, while the fundamentals of ancestral traditions are forgotten. This incessant search for external validation is the opposite of true spirituality, which has always emphasized inner power as the key to realization. The disillusionment deepens when we understand that modern spirituality, instead of leading to self-knowledge, keeps people outwardly focused, trapped in cycles of consumption. This dependency on external practices is the opposite of what ancestral masters taught. They showed us that true freedom depends on nothing outside of us. The essence of the spiritual path is self-discipline, sincere practice, and commitment to inner transformation. The failure of modern spirituality lies in its inability to prepare individuals to develop their own skills and become self-sufficient in their journey. Contemporary culture feeds dependency instead of realization, offering shortcuts that never lead to the final destination. The power lies within you, but as long as you keep seeking outward, you will be unable to access it fully. If we want to evolve genuinely, we need to abandon these comfortable lies and face the raw truth. Transformation requires effort, self-discipline, and a real commitment to self-knowledge. The myth of comfort in modern spirituality is one of the greatest barriers to true growth. We live in a culture that sells the idea that spiritual transformation can be achieved without effort, without sacrifice, and most importantly, without discomfort. I am not saying that everything must be uncomfortable, But it is essential to understand that discomfort is a vital part of our change. Nothing could be further from the truth. The reality is that authentic spiritual growth demands dedication that challenges our limits and confronts the parts of ourselves that resist change the most. The ancient spiritual masters knew this. The yogis who achieved elevated states of consciousness did not seek shortcuts. They retreated to the mountains, meditated in caves, and dedicated their entire lives to intense practices. These masters understood that true transformation is not casual. It demands total commitment. Meditations began before dawn, lasting for hours, day after day, year after year. This level of dedication was what allowed transcendence of egoic limitations and access to higher levels of perception. Modern spirituality, however, glorifies the idea that profound results can be obtained with minimal effort. Weekend workshops, casual retreats, and intermittent practices are sold as complete solutions for spiritual evolution. But how can we expect genuine transformation when we are more concerned with comfort than with commitment? The truth is that real growth requires intensity. It is not enough to practice when it is convenient. Spirituality must be integrated into every aspect of life, or else it becomes a strategy to soothe our ego and deceive us into thinking we are on the path when we are merely pretending to face what is truly necessary. We are not here to say that these approaches are not essential on the journey. We are reflecting that the journey is much greater than all of this. It must be applied as a lifestyle, every second and in every interaction we have in our daily lives. In my journey as a therapist and healer, I have learned profound lessons about how true internal change requires more than mere intention. Many times, I offered help freely to people who, for the most part, desperately needed a new path. Some seized the opportunity with dedication and transformed their lives. Others, however, let the chance slip by, not due to a lack of desire, but because they were trapped in emotional patterns programmed to keep them where they were. Our emotions and behaviors have often been unconsciously shaped to maintain the status quo. It's as if an internal force seeks to preserve the comfort zone, even when it is painful. This is why change is not just a matter of wanting it. It requires commitment, active effort to reprogram deeply ingrained beliefs and patterns. Many of us seek retreats, courses, and practices for self-knowledge, genuinely believing we are ready to change. However, within the subconscious, the reality is different. A part of us still resists, still doesn't want to let go of the known. This resistance is a form of self-protection, but is also the greatest obstacle to growth. True spiritual growth is not something that happens in isolated moments. It requires continuous effort, disciplined practice, and a willingness to face the pain and discomfort that inevitably arise in the process. Enlightenment is not something that can be bought or obtained out of convenience. It is a fire that needs to be stoked daily, in every choice we make, and in every aspect of our lives. True commitment demands that we abandon the idea that spirituality can be easy. It is, in fact, an intense and demanding path, but also the only one that leads to genuine transformation. The contemporary spiritual market exploits this illusion by promoting concepts like star seeds, light workers, or advanced souls. These ideas create artificial hierarchies that feed vanity and the sense of spiritual superiority. The implicit message is that some souls are on a higher level than others, which, beyond being divisive, is a complete distortion of the essence of the spiritual path. The truth is that all human beings, regardless of their history or beliefs, share the same potential for transformation. There are no shortcuts or special privileges. Everyone faces the same universal laws of evolution. The trap of spiritual ego also manifests subtly in daily life. During meditation, The ego might whisper that you are more elevated than others because you remain still while they fidget. In a yoga class, a sense of pride might arise when you notice that your posture is more advanced. Even in spiritual communities, there are veiled competitions to see who has more cosmic experiences or masters more spiritual concepts. These patterns are not mere coincidences. They are ways in which the ego resists dissolution, using the very spiritual practice to strengthen itself. This phenomenon is particularly dangerous because it is difficult to recognize. When the ego disguises itself as spirituality, it seems harmless, even virtuous. It manifests in small actions, such as casually mentioning the depth of your meditations, sharing intense spiritual experiences, or using terms like high vibration to stand out. These actions, although subtle, are forms of self-promotion that maintain the illusion of separation. The ego uses spiritual practice as a mask, creating an identity of a spiritual person that ultimately prevents true transformation. The solution to this trap begins with radical honesty. It is necessary to observe how the ego infiltrates the practice and to be relentless in confronting these tendencies. Every thought of superiority, every desire for recognition, must be examined with clarity and humility. Spiritual practice is not a path to stand out, but to dissolve. The goal is not to build a better identity, but to transcend all identities. The illusion of spiritual ego is perhaps the most challenging obstacle on the path, but also the most transformative when overcome. Freeing oneself from this trap requires discipline, self-awareness, and an unshakable commitment to truth. True spirituality is not about being more than others. It is about transcending the need for comparison and connecting with the universal essence we all share. When you let go of the need to feel special, you discover the freedom of simply being. The practice becomes pure, without pretensions or expectations. The ego ceases to be a barrier, and you finally begin to experience the unity that has always been there, waiting to be lived. The spiritual path is not about status or recognition. It is about truth, and this truth can only be found when the ego is left behind. If you've made it this far, congratulations on your dedication to seeking a deeper understanding of what it truly means to grow spiritually. Now I want to hear from you. Have you noticed how the ego can infiltrate even spiritual practices? Share your experience in the comments. And if this content resonated with you, don't forget to like the video and subscribe to the channel. Together, we can continue exploring and unraveling the layers of this transformative journey. Until next time.